Welcome to the Equity Blueprint podcast. My name is Dreena Wilson, CEO and founder of CHIP, which stands for Changing How Individuals Prosper. And our goal is to help you find financial professionals who can suit your individual needs. I started this podcast to normalize a conversation around money and wealth and what that really means to our communities and just the evolution of our lives. Money isn't always the sexiest topic or fun topic to talk about, but hey, that's why you're here. To not just learn more, but really kick back, relax, and hear other people's journeys and how they've used money, how they relate it to generational wealth or wealth building to become their own, what I like to call financial architects of their lives. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the dope conversations that you're about to hear with people that inspire me from all across the world. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Equity Blueprint podcast. I think you all know what it is by now. I'm happy for you all to be here. Again, welcome for all of you that are new and just joining us. My name is Dreena Wilson, CEO and founder of CHIP, where we really help you navigate a lot of your financial wealth building and understanding what that means to find experts who might better understand your journey. But I'm super excited about the guests that I'm about to bring on. Without further ado, I feel like this woman has all of the accolades. I really need to do something. I keep saying this about getting some like clapping noises and bomb dropping and all the fun things that used to go on. If you were someone who grew up in the tri-state area, you probably understand.
Oh, fun flex.
Listen, all of that. But Dreena, welcome and thank you for blessing the podcast. I'm super excited for this conversation.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely want to kick things off by, telling people who you are, what you do, all the amazing work that you've been continuing to work in and pour into all of our communities and inspire people, including myself.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, I'm the founder and CEO of WhitPR. We are a strategic communications firm based out of New Jersey. We help clients authentically tell their stories to the audiences that matter most to them, whether it's like constituents, potential clients or customers or stakeholders. We help companies, small, mid, and large size, to authentically, make sure their messages are landing with the communities that matter most.
Yeah, which is completely important, right? I feel like enough of us don't get comfortable around not only really telling our stories, but even understanding what our story is. I feel like there's a lot of times where it's just like, okay, well, I know I'm doing this thing. I know it's important. And how do I really start to communicate that with the world so that they understand it as opposed to just talking about it?
And even like what is important, sometimes, especially entrepreneurs, we get so caught up in doing our work, like just keep grinding, keep hustling, and we forget to celebrate the moments that are worth celebrating. And those are the times when you can really amplify and tell your story. I trust me, I go through the same thing.
Me too. I'm just like, we're just going through, okay, here's a win. All right, now put my head back down and just keep going through the next win. And at some point in life, I will celebrate all of them all at once, as opposed to just taking that breath to step back and really acknowledge all the great work you've done. So thank you for that reminder and for all of those reminders for those who are founders, entrepreneurs, building incredible businesses. But I definitely want to, talk about your money story, your journey. What was that first memory of money for you, and how do you feel like it's evolved over time?
I think probably when I was like a teenager. I grew up in a single parent household, and so money was tight. I watched my mother work 2-3 jobs at a time to like take care of me and my brother. And so when I was able to, like, when I was of age and able to work, like I went out and got my own job because I wanted to buy my own like fly jeans, sneakers, get my little beeper. And so I would say that's probably when I first had like my first like personal like experience with money and making money. And I think just over the years, it's the same sort of work ethic, but the importance of money has changed in importance in my life over the years. But I think my whole purpose has remained the same, like to always just show up, do amazing work, and if I get compensated, I do. And so even now with the type of clients that we bring on, like if I'm really excited about your story and I really believe in you and your business, and you maybe can't afford our retainer, we'll figure out a way to make it work. Just because at the end of the day, it's for me, it's about helping people to tell their story and stories that matter and will make a difference. And so if the
Yeah.
money comes, it comes, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like the money always comes when you think about it in that way, right? How do I support others? How do I uplift the community and make that impact? And then knowing that if they're doing well and they're as passionate as I think they are, the money will come. It's going to follow.
Yep.
And I also grew up in a single parent household. So I know all about what that looks like and watching one parent just work miracles. Some days I'm just like,
Yeah.
I don't know, how? How did you do that?
Listen.
Do all of this stuff, take care of this child. And I remember recently I was driving in the car with my mother. She just looked at me and she's like, I don't know how I did it. And she was like, I don't know how I got you, how I got to work, got you to some daycare place and did all of these things. And it's amazing how our parents are able to just make
For
miracles
real.
all sorts of ways. So when you think about, well, how do you define wealth? Like, what does that word even mean to you?
You know what? I've over the past couple weeks, I've been in a community with Black women, and we've all had these conversations around what does wealth mean to you? And, 14, 15, 16, even 20 something year old Dreena would be like, I'd have a large bank account, like, and I'd have a benzo and all these things. And for me, that's like, that's not what wealth means to me. Like, if I'm healthy, if my family's happy, if I'm able to like show up and to make an impact in someone's life, for me, that's wealth. If I have people around me that love me and want to support me and champion me and my family, that's life. That's wealth for me.
So do you feel like the like even within that the word legacy has changed for you as well? Or what does that mean for you now when you think about what legacy means in addition to kind of what you just said?
Yeah, it has changed a little bit because I think, I started my company with, no funding, no clients, no, I didn't even know how to build a business. And so for years, it was about hustle, hustle, hustle to make an impact, hustle, 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 so people know my name so I can get clients. And now it's just like, how am I helping another person? Like financially, not financially, just how am I showing up and helping them? That's what I truly care about. And am I leaving a good imprint on the world that my children, because now I have two, can be proud of when I'm no longer here? That's legacy to me.
Yeah. And what does that mean like for them as you're having these conversations with them and they're learning and really watching you build a business, right? I think there's a beauty in it when you have parents who are entrepreneurs and you really get to watch, the highs and the lows, right? At different ages and different stages, they're in it with you, right? They're seeing you build. And as they get older, they kind of get to see or get the benefits of what it looks like to start to build success. What does it mean for you to have them watch you do all of that?
I mean, my daughter's two, so she don't know what's going
She,
on. She's like, "Ah."
she was like, whatever.
But
Give me
my
my
son,
snacks.
exactly. My son, who's 10, he just turned 10. He's been able to see me as an entrepreneur for a good amount of time, well, his whole life essentially. And so he's been there when he's seen like one office space and another office space with team members. And he's like, he sees me traveling. He's like, I send him pictures and like tell him some of the stuff that I'm doing. And his main thing is like, you're a CEO, mom. Like, you're a CEO. Like, you have your own business. And so I think he's like just enjoying the ride and not fully understanding. I think now he is because he's a little older that this is not like normal. Like, everyone's parent doesn't get to just, drop everything to go take them to do XYZ, or, they're traveling on behalf of a client to do whatever work.
Yeah. So it's definitely different in stages as far as like seeing. And how has it been as you've, built your business? And I know you mentioned a little bit about, pivoting and how you've been able to build. What has that experience been like for you as someone who's really built their business from the ground up, who's bootstrapped? What's that journey like? Because I know, even as a fellow entrepreneur, it's not an easy thing, right? Everyone wants to wear that CEO hat and wants to be a founder, but I'm like, do you see what is happening in the background?
They don't. No one sees what happens in the background. It's I've been in business since 2010, and I've done a lot of this by myself, like just building it. But I've had community have helped me along the way and provided me opportunities. But when I'm making the hard decisions when it comes to pivoting, or dealing with like just the ebbs and flows that come with business, like I'm really the one that takes that on. And so even when I have a full staff, I try to shield them from that. Like I try to like, because again, my staff is all Black women. It's an agency. I built an agency that I like dreamt of when I was starting in the field. And so it has not been easy. I cry all the time. I finally got a good therapist this year.
The
Prayer and my
difference all
faith.
of that makes. Oh my goodness.
Listen, and prayer and my faith has been like my foundation through it all, because like I've I've just I've had a journey, and like this, and especially in this industry, service-based businesses are extremely hard, because you are dealing with a client or a customer that can help either, amplify your business or tear it down, regardless of how much effort and work you put into like making them shine, or giving them great service. And so it's hard to not take that on and internalize, especially as a Black woman, when we get tons of no's, when we get dismissed, when people discount us and just think we can't do the work. It's extremely hard.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely lays just that. I feel like that underlying imposter syndrome that a lot of us just naturally have because we've had to have it. We've always had to prove something,
Yeah,
and we're constantly waking up and figuring out how do we prove this to whatever it is, even if it's just to ourselves, right? Knowing that, hey,
ourselves.
this is,
That's the main thing.
yeah,
Like you have to know. And I struggled with that for years. I always be like, yo, somebody's gonna come pull this curtain down and see I'm a fraud, even though I'm not. Like, what? Get out your own head. Like you are that girl. Like show up. You've done and that's where we talked about earlier, where you have to celebrate your wins, no matter how big or small. I think because we're so used to just like constantly going and building and grinding, that us not celebrating those wins affects our confidence in how we show up moving forward. Like you forget those things that you've done until somebody reminds you. You're like, oh yeah, wait, I am that girl. Let me stop acting like I'm not. Um, so yeah, especially as Black women.
oh yeah, yeah. It's just the simple reminders because we do forget. It's like we're always on that hunt for that next thing. And to your point about pulling the curtains down, it's just like, nah, don't look back here because God forbid you see all the things that are really going on. It's just like you
Yeah,
wouldn't mess with this business. But if it was everyone else, it's like there's a grace that's received and that, oh, it's
girl.
okay. We know what it's like to build a business, but over here it's a mess, right? And it's just called a mess
Hmm.
because of who is running it. And typically, a lot of times it's us in our communities, it's Black people, it's Black women. And I love the fact that you've
Yo,
intentionally built this business with Black women on your team, because I also think there's an empowerment there of what it looks like to see you shine, what it looks like to have this team even watch you as they have their own legacies and creation. Because what you've done is you've created opportunities and income for all of these individuals that work with you and will go on
mhm.
to do other things as they also continue to evolve. And what does that mean to you?
I mean, of course, when like my star people like transition out, it's hurtful. Like, and I'm
Yeah.
like, no, like, but when I see where they end up going, and when they share like their experiences and how I played a role in them being where they are, um, it's gratifying, and it lets me know like, okay, Drina, you really do have something special here. You really are making an impact, not just in your clients' lives, but the people that come on and work with you and support you in your dream that you've built.
So how was it building a team? Because in general, no matter who your team is, what your team looks like, how much you love and support your team, right? How
Yeah.
was it actually building the team, really trying to find the right people, and even marrying that with just cost of what it looks like to even run a business?
I think it was a lot of trial and error, because like I was very intentional about hiring Black women. I was just like, when I first started, I was just getting anybody an opportunity. And like I said, I didn't have any contracts, I didn't have any employee agreements, NDAs, none of that. And so I was just like, oh, it's a young Black girl. Like she wants to do this type of work. Let me give her the opportunity. And so I didn't have those guardrails set up for me as an entrepreneur and a bit like a business owner or even an employer. And so I learned a lot of lessons along this journey in terms of like having NDAs, even like, I think, and we talked about this like offline, but I think when people are like, oh, I want to have my own company and I want to have a staff, it sounds very exciting and sexy, but you don't know all of the additional costs that that business owner has to incur with building out a staff. You
Talk about
know,
it, because I'm like New
you
Jersey,
have to
you all
like,
want everything.
well, if we provide benefits, we have to pay, in addition to like paying into the employee's benefits, we have to pay the benefit provider. And if you miss that payment, your benefits for you and your team are canceled. We have to pay payroll taxes. We have to set aside money for taxes to the IRS for the money that we're receiving from our clients. Nobody talks about those things, and the employees don't know that because we try to shield them from that. And so if you're asking why you can't get XYZ bump and raise, this is why. Because we don't have clients bringing in this amount. I'd love to do that, but we can't do that realistically with how, clients want to pay us. Because we've had brands that will hire us after previously hiring a larger white agency who they may have paid like six figures monthly. They want to pay us, what, four figures monthly, half of that, but it demand more of the work from us. And so it's just, I've had a lot of like lessons along my journey as an entrepreneur with like bringing on, like, at one point I had 14 full-time staff members. Talk about like about to have a heart attack every month when people are late paying and I still got to meet payroll. It's stressful.
Yeah, and I feel like these are a lot of the conversations we don't talk about, right? Is actually
Hmm.
these back end conversations where it's like, okay, yes, you've built a team, and yes, I've got all this staff, but it's just like all the underlying it takes to onboard people, and it's not training them, it's the financial onboard for them to really understand what's happening and how you have to almost be like semi transparent, right? When they are asking those conversations or asking those questions about, hey, I've done X, why can't I get this? And it's like, well, I want to share and, kind of be transparent, but it's also, this is what it looks like on paper in the business. It's like, do you want the business to exist? Or do you want to get paid some enormous amount that's going to crush and cripple everything that we built and ultimately a lot of the things that you've worked on too?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and I feel like a lot of people and teams really don't understand that. And what was the like biggest lesson that you learned even going through that experience?
I think because I'm an empath, like I consider everyone else's feelings before mine. And I try to like, there were moments where I'd like one, I mean, I depleted my savings, my personal savings to keep my business afloat, to make sure my team members could still get payroll. I've taken out loans that weren't the best loans. They were predatory loans. And just to like fill the plug while I waited for a client who was like 3 months late or waiting for a client to sign on. And I think it's just, you have to go with your gut feeling. Like, look at the numbers, plain and simple, and don't just think a miracle is going to come out the sky. And you know what? Tomorrow it'll be great. Tomorrow this $15,000 check is going to come in the mail. They're going to pay. Um, be realistic and also protect yourself with your contracts with like clients or, brand partners that you're working with. And I think that was a major lesson for me. I think when I got my first real contract that I created for clients, like it was a hefty amount that I had to pay the lawyer, but it was worth it because he put in these protection clauses for me and my business. If you don't give us 30 days notice, um, when it's time to renew your contract that you're going to terminate, you're automatically enrolled into another 3 months. Or if you're late XYZ amount of days, you have to pay this. Like these are things I did not have in my contract. Google gave me my first contract. And so it wasn't like protective of me in the agency and my team.
Yeah, and I think those are bigger conversations too, especially when we want to work with these larger companies. It's great to have that name and attachment and be able to even start marketing off of that. But it's all the things that they're presenting to us. And because of who we are and how we are, we're just lucky. We're often thinking, oh, we're just lucky to be in the room, even though going back to what you said earlier, we deserve to have all these things. And yeah, we're doing the thing to get us to this next place, but we're not really spinning our wheels and focused around the wording, the language. It's just okay, sign it now. I've
Mhm.
got Google as a client, and now I can tell everyone I got Google as a client to go leverage this. But that deal isn't really going to set us up for success.
Yeah, and they might be paying you net 30, net 60, net 90. Like, and you don't realize that
Yeah, yeah.
until after you sign, and then you're waiting for your check, and they're like, per your agreement, it says this.
Right. And it's just like, well, I don't have to pay you. And they're just like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
So I
just all
like
of those
just reading, like paying, like being attentive to the details, like making sure you're protecting yourself. And if you are going to work with a corporation that does sometimes have those net payment terms, like you have to make sure you have something that like a cushion to carry you through that time.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you think from, where you started to kind of where you are now are the things that are more top of mind for you as you continue to build going forward, right? You definitely had a lot of experience, learned a lot of lessons, and now as you move forward into the next years of your business, what does that look like in really setting yourself up for success?
Um, I think in this next like phase of with PR, I think it's just being more aggressive. I think like I come from the space of like when publicists and PR teams were very much behind the scenes, like we wore black. We stood behind everybody. Like we weren't like forward facing. And I have not been like that for my business. But we live in this age now where you have to be like that in order for people to be like, oh, I trust her. I believe she can do the work, or I'm going to invest in her. So I think being a little bit more aggressive in terms of like how we show up strategically, but also just being very intentional around the team that I build to continue to help grow with PR in this next phase. Um, I think those are the major things.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had a conversation with someone earlier this week, and we were talking about the contrast of like how people are building businesses now or having to build businesses with this, forward facing of having to do content. It's like before you could just build a business, people, there was more of an automatic trust that was happening, and now people have to see you, they have to know your story, they have to know all these things about you before they're kind of start these buy-in periods. And then it's like, okay, well, I like this person and we can be friends and I want to do business now. So it's always interesting looking at how just technology and social media and all the things have now aligned with what we have to do, especially to your point in service-based businesses. We have to go this
Yeah.
extra mile for now to build
And
trust.
trust me, I'm not gonna be out here doing TikTok dances. I'm not gonna be doing anything
Listen,
like that.
if I see one more challenge, I'm just like, Lord, what is it now?
Ooh,
What is it?
that what they're all doing.
I know.
I'm not. You won't see me doing any of that. But like, I think I haven't really put that much effort into like our presence, our marketing tactics to like put the business in front of decision makers or potential clients because thank God, like I'm trying to find wood where I am, but like this September we'll be in business for 15 years, and 95% of my business has been word of mouth, like 95. And so that's a blessing. but it's also like that's not sustainable. And so I think I've gotten comfortable over these last couple of years, like, oh, it's all word of mouth, like, the business is going to come, like, people send me RFPs, but I'm never like, okay, this is our marketing strategy for 2025. This is where we're going to show up. This is where we're going to have a presence. I've never done anything like that. And so I think as I'm looking to continue to grow and scale the company, that's one thing that I'm really intentional on this year.
So what does that look like as you start to set the business up even in yourself, even for financial success? How do you mirror like where you're going now and what you know you want to do and potentially even having a an actual marketing budget for more external stuff? How do you start to piece that together? And do you also have those
Mm.
conversations like with your team?
Yeah, so with my team, I think it's about bringing in people that understand the long-term goal for the company and understand like what we have and how impactful it is. I think like this is like I've never spoken about my company like this, like, but I've had enough people in my life, especially this year, who have been like, no, you guys need to show up and do this. This is how you can show up. This is where you can show up. And so I've hired like consultants to help me, it's because sometimes it's better to hire people who aren't inside to be able to tell you like these are the areas where you could improve. And so I was very intentional about that at the start of this year. And so I have folks that have created a plan for me for this year and have like, set up introductions and understand like my goal and long-term vision for the company.
Yeah, and definitely want to go back to the fact that you've been in business for 15 years or will be. I mean, it's something that I feel like doesn't happen too often, that sustainability, even if you're saying it was word of mouth. I mean, it's a powerful thing to not have had to do a lot of external marketing, have 95% of that be word of mouth, and be in business for 15 years as a Black woman. And also
Thank you.
just being able to, yeah, pour back into your community and people and what you've been able to do. So just want to hold a spot and a pin for that because I feel like
Oh,
it's
thank
important to,
you.
yeah,
But see,
absolutely.
like when you say that, I'm always like, but if I would have been more intentional, like we could have been further along or we could have been XYZ here. I think about things like that. And
Yeah.
I think that's why like imposter syndrome has played a major part in like my professional growth in the agency's like visibility over the years. Um, and so it's just all learning lessons. Every day is a lesson, right? You
Yeah.
learn
And I
something new. So
I also look at that too because I feel like a lot of times when we're in those moods and we're thinking about stuff from that perspective, where it's like I wish I had done this, and we all feel like that, especially as entrepreneurs and business owners. But I feel like there's certain spaces and places where the universe does show up, and I feel like sometimes when we would have rushed or we would have taken this meeting or taken this client, it's just like we would have not been in a place where we should have been in order to receive that. And I feel like sometimes
listen,
that you just got to sometimes let it work out as much as you want to show up and push and push and push. Sometimes we push too much in getting to spaces and places where we want to be in, but we weren't ready to be in them. So I know
for
that
sure. Because I
all.
used to take rejection like I used to like wallow in it for like
Mhm.
days. I'm like, oh my God, I could have done this different. I could have done that. Or what if I would have did this? Or maybe there was a typo somewhere. And it's really like and then it comes out like years down the line, like God was protecting you.
All of
So,
that.
man's rejection is God's protection. Like I live
Listen,
by that. I'm a firm believer in that because every single thing that has happened to me along my journey, it was part of the plan for me to be where I am today,
oh
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, absolutely. And even just to have the full package of understanding of where to go next and also being open to working with external people to help you do that too, right? I feel like a lot of times we're so tied to our businesses, what we think it should be, how it should look, that we don't want to, we get out of a place of being coachable, and being able to receive honest feedback from people who want to see us succeed, but we're just like, oh, you don't know anything about our business and our space, so stay out. Right, like what
Yep,
have you done? And I'm going to go to the happy place of people who make me happy, as opposed to the people who are going to challenge me and give me that real feedback that is going to continue to help me propel.
for sure. And I'm a firm believer in that because I was that person was like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, get out of my face. But but if you challenge me, you have the evidence and the proof to like back up whatever you're challenge me with. Like I can't do nothing but, you know, believe you and invest into whatever opportunity or pivot or direction that you're providing.
Yeah. And what does it look like for the next you like if you could wave a magic wand on your business and even just from a financial perspective, what does that look like? Like what do you think your business is going to allow you to do in the next 5 years?
Mm. I was in the Goldman Sachs 10KSB program, and I'm alumni of that program. And there's one of my cohort members is this guy named Ronnie Ram. He owns this company called Inspiria Outdoors. They do a lot of outdoor advertising, the billboards in Times Square and all that. And I remember part of that program is really going through and looking through your financials and your numbers, which is very scary and can be very overwhelming. But on the other side of it, it really gives you a sense of clarity and also like um, vision for where you want to go with your company and what you can do to like reach that goal. It helps you like, forecast. And like I wasn't doing any of that. And Ronnie, like I looked at his business and when he was like, yeah, last year I made close to 10 mil. And I'm like, what? Like, how? And I think for me, it's been about, of course I always have this goal, like I want to try to reach year over year in terms of like revenue, right? Um, but it's having people like Ronnie in my corner who have like, okay, Dreena, we're no longer in class, but we're going to link up quarterly and look at your numbers. Having my bookkeeper to like help me realistically have my budget in place and like forecast for the year and help me plan strategic. Because I used to just be like, oh, we could do this, we got this, we could do this, and that's not sustainable. And also, it won't allow me to really be profitable at the end of the year. And so, I'm always just like, if I could double what I made last year, I look at that as a win. I don't have no long term, like, oh, I want to be a billionaire and da, 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 da. I literally just want to be able to live comfortably, have some money set aside for my kids, for college or for whatever, and be able to pay Black women what they deserve, like that are on my team. So I don't really have a magical number. I don't know if I even answered the question.
Yeah, no, you did. I mean, I feel like a lot of times it's not like a magic number. I feel like some people say, "Oh, I want to do X," and it's always like this revenue-based target or this revenue thing, as opposed to us thinking about it. Well, what are the things that actually make us happy and bring us some level of financial joy? And that could be a myriad of different things, right? Like wealth. We kind of touched on this earlier, but it's like wealth to everyone. Some people equate it with income, their income they're making. Some people equate it to like the money they have in the bank or the money they aspire to have in the bank. And then others, it's like, well, I want my family to be able to do X, or I want us to be able to just take vacations every year, or I want us to be able to do whatever that thing is, open this bed and breakfast. I don't care what, whatever your heart's desire or what wealth means to you. And it's great that I feel like a lot of us are now really starting to understand and equate more of our health and happiness to money and wealth conversations.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I feel like we're kind of spinning in this, well, if, and because then it's just like it's crushing, right? So it's like if I don't hit this big number, I failed, right? As opposed to widening it a bit and really understanding, well, these are my goals. So what would you say brings you financial joy, or what does that mean to you?
Financial joy. I mean, I love a nice vacation. Like if I'm able to at least like once a year or even twice a year go on like just a nice vacation, like with my family, maybe one with my kids, one without my kids, um, that brings me financial joy. If I'm able to do that, like I could care about anything else. Like I still like when Target was okay to still shop at. I was getting my clothes at Target. I'm struggling now. I'm trying to
Oh,
figure it out. But I'm not really into lavish things. Like I don't, I'm not out here like buying all the bags and everything. But I'm like, if I can really just have a nice vacation on a nice beach where I could just be offline and just chill and rest and restore for a week, that for me is financial joy. And also being able to like help my mom. Like if I'm able to also like whenever whenever I go on vacations with my family, I always bring my mom. And I always pay for her to come. And just because like she sacrificed so much for me growing up, and she worked so hard for us to grow up. And so me being able to do that for her and bring her on vacation or treat her to her own vacation, for me is financial joy, you know?
Yeah, no, I love it. And I definitely feel the same way about my mom. What do you think it means for her to see you build this business? Because I feel like I look
She
at,
is
my,
proud,
my
child.
yeah.
She be on Instagram. That's my black Barbie.
Listen, let her have all that joy, okay?
I'm like, Ma, please stop, okay? But no, I think she's extremely proud and happy. Like she always like she sees the stresses that I go through. And as a mom, she's always like, oh, I wish I could help you more. I wish I had like, this big bank account where I could like plug that client that, left. But I'm like, it's not, don't worry about anything like that. If
Mhm.
anything, I want to take care of you. And so I think she's just extremely proud.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful thing, I feel like, to have your parents watch that journey, especially when that wasn't necessarily their journey. My mother worked at the same company for 45 years, and that is wiped out and completely unheard of, right? And I feel like
Yeah.
now the experiences, the world is just different. And being able to sit back and say, wow, you built something literally from nothing, and it continues to scale and grow and find success. Like, it's a beautiful thing, I feel like, for
Yeah.
us to just watch and enjoy.
Yeah,
And
I have to explain to her something sometimes. Like, I just made the Inc. Female Founder list for this year. And so she's
congratulations.
like, well,
First of all, you don't just stop being up here dropping just gems and
Yes,
dropping.
you see?
Yes,
I'm like
yes,
I'm
all of
like,
that.
and she was like, well, what is ink? Like, I had to like explain certain like outlets of things to her that like, we would be super excited about.
Mhm.
And then when she gets it, she's like, oh my God, that's amazing. But, I think she's just proud overall to see both of her kids doing well and
No, yeah.
happy.
I know, it's funny. It's like how times have changed. It's like, yes, this is that thing. And yeah, having to really help them understand like why it makes sense, why it's so important
Yeah.
to the business. So when now that your son is 10, how do you all, or how do you talk to him about money and wealth as he relates to, his own personal journey and story?
Because these kids now, they're very obsessed with
Yeah.
Roblox.
It's
And
a whole thing.
so
I still haven't wrapped my head around
I'm
any of
struggling.
it.
I don't really like him to be on it, but I don't want him to be the only kid in his grade that's not allowed to be on Roblox.
Yeah.
But he like we are doing old school. He still has chores. He has to like meet certain things to get any sort of financial like reward, if anything. Um, we talked to him about savings a lot because I did not have like we didn't have we didn't have financial conversations when I was growing up.
Mhm.
And so like all the things I had to learn kind of on my own. And as my mom got older, we started having conversations. So trying to start those conversations with him now so he doesn't think money falls out of the sky and he can get $1 million in Robux and like go do whatever.
Take
Or
over the
like I think,
universe.
yeah, yeah.
I know. I do feel like they think that way too, because money is so digital and digitized. It's just like, I
Listen,
can just throw all these things in here into this app, and I'm like, it's just gonna spill out all this money. I just go swipe all
right.
over the place. It's like, no, it doesn't work.
Exactly.
Do you feel like the conversations around money for you have gotten more comfortable and fluent, especially as you just continue to mature through your career?
I think so. I also think like a lot of like even amongst like friends, like people didn't really talk about money like that growing up. And so I think especially now because everyone's like trying to, penny pinch and be super smart around how they spend. I think the conversations are more like frequent and normalized. Um, and just for me as an entrepreneur, I don't think people fully realize like I was talking to somebody today and I was talking about payroll and I was like, yo, my payroll is XYZ amount a month. And they're like, what? Where are you getting all that money from? And I'm like, exactly. I think these are just For me, I try to be like as honest and transparent with people because I don't want them to think like, oh, Dreena got it. Like she has a successful business and she has money falling out of the sky. Cause I think people do think that sometimes. And me and my husband talk about it all the time. And I'm like, do people not realize we have bills like everyone else? Like, I
I
think it's
feel
just having those conversations with people more frequently can destigmatize like the conversation around like entrepreneurs and what success looks like.
Yeah, I really do think that people, for whatever reason, equate entrepreneurship with being like rich and wealthy. And I feel like it doesn't even matter sometimes who you are. They just place you into that bucket, like, oh, so and so's got all this money because they're doing X and they're running this business and they're able to do all these things. And I'm like, you really need to understand what comes with running a business from the financial
For
perspective.
real.
Your point, it's just like this weird, even in with everything that's going on and even with the nuances, I feel like people still equate,
Uh,
what you just said, to founders and business owners because of all the things they externally see. And it's just like, no, you know that, yeah, for everyone who I work with, I'm paying X. I'm paying X for myself as an employee. There's bills that come with the business. And oh, by the way, I'm also a person. So there's bills that come with that too, right?
for
Um,
sure.
yeah,
Yep.
it's this weird, interesting conversation that I feel like we're constantly having. But
Yep.
before we hop off, what is like that one? Um, what's something that kind of keeps you inspired as you continue to navigate this founder journey? I feel like we're all just in this boat in the world where there's just a lot going on, just in its simplest format to explain. But how do you kind of continue to stay inspired to build and grow?
Oh my God. You know, it's hard, especially when you're met with so many roadblocks along your journey as an entrepreneur. But then I think the one thing that also reignites me in those moments are the clients that are just extremely like appreciative and grateful and like are true partners in the work. I think for us, I always like to say like people will hire agency and think the agency can do magic without any input from them. But the ones that truly understand that it's a partnership, just like you're in partnership with your friends and you're in partnership with your spouse, you have to be in partnership with your agency. And so it's when we get those clients like that, but also when recognition comes from like business trade publications like Inc. They let me know that I actually have something viable here. I actually am like doing something unique and great, and to keep going.
No, absolutely. And one last question, because I feel like it's important to almost state this as well, too, right? As people are looking at PR and their marketing and their content, all the things that kind of fall under that umbrella as, business owners, no matter how big or small, what are some big misconceptions that you think people have between, PR and then maybe just strategic marketing content? Because I feel like people don't really understand the difference.
Yeah.
To those, what are some pitfalls that you feel like people just kind of fall into?
I think a lot of times when people hire PR agencies specifically, they think that we can work like we're magicians. They think that you hire us today and tomorrow you'll be on essence.com or, and I say Essence because that's the number one publication for Black women, but then like also like Good Morning America or the Today Show or the Breakfast Club. They don't truly understand that strategy is the foundation for PR, and we have to work that. And there's time that requires to work that strategy, just like in any other business. I also think that people equate social media to PR. And like they're two different things. Um, and they can work together. Like that's a service that we offer, but like that's not PR. Social media and digital marketing has kind of evolved into its own thing over the last couple of years. And PR is really about like relationship building in the art and storytelling and helping people reach the audiences that will ultimately help grow their business. I also think that people think PR will automatically increase sales for their business. I'm sorry, like That's not, it can happen, but don't go into a partnership with the agency thinking that's going to be like the result. That's going to be a KPI.
Yeah, don't go in thinking you're going to have an automatic viral moment.
No, no.
Yeah. And also just like setting people up for that too, because I do feel like people do equate social media and that type of marketing with the strategy and also the work that comes on both sides too, right? Like you also have to be passionate enough to put in the work that's going to help your PR team put in that strategy for you. You're just not going to be sitting at home while they're doing the things because you need to do the things for them to help you with the strategy.
Yep. And you have to trust them. You
Mhm.
truly have to trust. Like, that's why, like, partnership is key. Like, you have to trust that this agency or this person has your best interest in mind. You have to trust that they have the same vision and goal for you that you have for yourself as you're going into this business. And that they're going to be honest with you along your journey. You just don't want people that are going to constantly say yes and agree with everything that you say and do. You will butt heads, but that doesn't mean the relationship is over. That just means they're truly passionate about their point of view. And sometimes that may be the right way to go. I just went through this with a client yesterday.
So sorry for that question. That might have brought up.
No, it's okay. No. I mean, I think we just bumped heads a little bit, and I think that's just what happens sometimes when both entities have like a vision, and one is working from strategy and one is working from emotion, and just you
Mhm.
know, and
Yeah.
especially if we know what works best on our like from our lens, um, it happens.
Oh yeah. And it's also, kind of what we talked about earlier about being coachable and letting experts do what they're,
Hmm.
lean in their genius and expertise. And that's kind of the reason why you went to seek out this team or this person, or even how you talked about working with consultants so that they can see the things that you can't, because we do get so
Hmm.
emotionally tied and yoked to our business at some level that becomes, our identity. It's important to be able to put those outside eyes on it so that we can be better, we can grow and do all these things. So
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah, so much more to do and to continue. But thank you so much for coming on. You dropped
Thank
a
you for
lot of
having me.
gems. Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget to celebrate yourself. I'll make sure
Yeah.
when I see stuff, yes,
Thank you.
go girl, all the things, and make sure that we're continuing to.
Same to you. You just did didn't you just do the marathon?
I
Not maybe
did, I did. I tried,
you
yes,
know,
I
I meant
kept
the
myself
marathon.
with with
Girl, I want some tips. I'm struggling to do a 5K. I
I
need
got
some.
you. I got you. It is oh Lord. It's a whole thing. I'm actually
That's a major achievement. So congratulations to you.
thank you. Thank you. And we're this little reminder, because I feel like a lot of times we do stuff like too, it's marrying the personal and professional, just goals that we set for ourselves that just keep us inspired and going, and knowing that if you did it once, you can absolutely do it again and again and again. It's just a matter of like, how bad do you want it? So
Hmm. Yeah.
all of that. Well, I'm definitely going to have you back on the podcast
I'd
again. I
love
appreciate
to.
you dropping all the gems, and for everyone who's listening, thank you for hopping on the Equity Blueprint podcast, and make sure you catch up on other episodes and then ones that are going to continue to come to your iTunes and all the places that you can get your podcasts. So thanks again for hopping on, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you heard, make sure you share and subscribe. Tell a friend to check it out as well. See you again soon.